with our universal invocation, then I'll give you the topic names and introduction of the speakers. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Okay. Come back. So as we celebrate the day, the special birthday, I'm sure most of our lodges throughout the country, throughout the nation, are celebrating this special day. So today we have kept 3 short talks all around Dr. Besant. The first topic would be Annie Besant, a luminous star in India's history. The second topic, Annie Besant, an occultist. And third, Annie Besant, a social reformer. So we are going to hear out, observe, take home variety of aspects of one person who has been so tremendously great, has contributed to reform people, society, education, and whatnot. Today we have 3 different speakers. We have Brother Arni Narendran. Then we have Dr. Shushma Srivastava and our sister Sri Priya Raghavan. Our first speaker of the day would be Brother Arni Narendran. He's already here. Let me briefly talk about him to introduce you all about our such a great speaker. Brother Narendran is the treasurer and trustee of the Blavatsky Lodge, Mumbai. He has been a resident coordinator at Adyar also for the Theosophical Youth Center at the time of President John Coates. He has been contributing to Theosophic journals worldwide, and his articles have been translated as well in languages like Russian, Spanish, Japanese, Finnish, and Ukrainian. He has delivered lectures on theosophy and mostly related to art, history in India and abroad. He's an advisor to the magazine Synergy, which is dedicated to art, poetry, and theosophy. Currently, he's based in Mumbai, and he is also working as a banking consultant in the micro banking domain. So, coming from a finance background, learning about arts, poetry, theosophy, whatnot, he has been a great asset to our TS as a contributor to journals, translation, contributing to coordinating programs for youth. I'm sure he's going to talk about great things about a luminous star in Indian history, Dr. Annie Besant. So over to Brother Arni Narendran.
Namaste and warm greetings from Blavatsky Lodge in Mumbai. Thank Brother Pradeep for inviting me for this talk, and Sister Suralina for the flattering introduction she has made. Well, firstly, I must thank Annie Besant for the prayer that we just recited, which is such a powerful prayer. In fact, we had a 1-hour lecture on the prayer, understanding each line, each word of the prayer, and it made immense sense to understand the prayer itself. And by understanding the prayer, we understand Annie Besant in all ways possible. Now, today, I will start off with this physical program we had in the lodge. And for those who are not come to this lodge, you must visit us. We are gathering on Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 p.m. You can come unannounced. And it's a heritage building in Bombay. And surprisingly, the first 1,000 pounds contribution towards this building was made by Annie Besant. That is why it was called the Annie Besant Hall. Now, today, incidentally, we had a guest speaker from Australia, and she did share wonderful ways of understanding Annie Besant. At that point of time, I was just thinking how a personality could be so vivid and diverse in its versatility. And this is a personality Annie Besant is all about. So this session today, we already completed. I'm freshly charged from the good gathering that we had and the beautiful speeches that we heard there. So my invitation to each and everyone who's present here, please, you come to Bombay. As Theosophists, please visit this Blavatsky Lodge. As I told you, Tuesdays, Fridays, but you can call us up for any other help. We have a beautiful archival library, old books. And also we have some of the furniture used by our founders. So this is a great treat. You can spend an afternoon. In fact, a lot of people in the morning, Sundays, they come for the Heritage Building walk and spend time at the Blavatsky Hall. Having said that, my talk is 15 minutes. So therefore, I can only give you certain glimpse, bullet points of some interesting facts you must have not heard of before, because I always try to find out in each year, each talk that we give, we are not repetitious. And believe me, you'll always find something new every year. Now, firstly, coming to the title of today's talk, this was actually borrowed from a title. I had contributed an article many years ago to a magazine which commemorated Annie Besant. The organization was called Friends of Theosophical Archives. If you've not heard about it, get into their Facebook page. As Theosophist, it's a very, very fascinating journey to get into our history, and this FOTA, Friends of Theosophical Archivists, they do a wonderful job in trying to retrieve old literature, and a fantastic team, globally managed team. So they came up with an issue of Annie Besant, and I had written an article then, and this was the title I gave. But then I realized I need to tweak it, because after I visited the UK, my wife and I wanted to travel across the UK, firstly to, of course, the travelers, but then importantly also to meet Theosophists across. And the most amazing reward we got was to see the originals of the Mahatma letters. But anyway, why should I tweak this this title is because she's not only a luminous star in India, she's a luminous star in the history of India, Great Britain, and Ireland. And I can testify that statement because there's a book which was published subsequent to my article by a professor in the University of Paris Sorbonne. Her name is Muriel Picasting-Buissière. Fantastic book. I think her book was called La Lutte Les Quêtes. That's French. It was firstly written in French, all about Annie Besant, her entire life, her contribution as a woman suffragette and so on. It was subsequently translated into German, and much later it was translated into English, and you can all see it for free because it's available, I think, in one of those websites on the virtual platform. So it's a fantastic book, and I would suggest that you should read this book because one book that has emanated from Australia is Pedro Oliveira and Professor Agarwal, who has written a wonderful book on Annie Besant. But then what's very fascinating is each of these books carry something very, very special and different about Annie Besant. So I should say the title should be Luminous Star, the History of India, Great Britain, and Ireland. Okay, having said that, we should now, I think, get into what actually Annie Besant was. And I came across this fantastic issue, the Theosophist 1947, exactly 100 years issue. You see, just it's amazing that this actually came by post about a couple of months ago, but these amazing things happen some old member had just sent this Theosophist issue of 100 years old. And when I came across the article, it was a tribute to Annie Besant from none other than Dr. Jinnaraja Dasa. And Dr. Jinnaraja Dasa, at that point of time, it is said in that article, this article was recorded on a gramophone and played in Adyar. And why? Because at that point of time, Jinnaraja Dasa was in London giving an interview to the BBC on Annie Besant. So there again, if you're interested in the archival history, please look into BBC archives and search for Annie Besant's video. And also 2 years ago, the Doordarshan, which is an Indian TV channel, the government of India, came across to a lodge, and they were taking a 30-minute documentary on Annie Besant's contribution. So that is also available in the Doordarshan archives. So this is one information I would like to pass on. Then, as I said, I can only give in 15 minutes certain snippets which might interest you. Now, they say everybody who writes the history says, for example, this Buriel says, if you are discussing or studying 19th and 20th century British history, you will find one person's name frequently coming up and popping up, and that's Annie Besant. And also in Ireland, when we had gone there, this was the first country we visited, we were caught up in a storm in a restaurant that night, on the very first day. And when we came to the patio, there were no cars on the road, nothing was available. But look at the amazing angels that always help you. A gentleman wearing a suit, short man, was just standing there. He said, sir, where are you going? I said, we are checked into a hotel. I told him the name of the hotel. He said, I can drop you there because I'll be passing through the hotel. So that is one amazing thing. But the most amazing thing was that he was not a Theosophist member, but substantially informed about Theosophy. And he told me how the Irish Theosophists were very much influenced by Annie Besant, and they were looking for India's success and freedom, because, as you know, Ireland from late 16th century was under British rule, and they were also looking for this emancipation. And he asked me to go to and again, I would suggest you, if you go to Ireland and Dublin, please go to the National Museum. There's a special section on W.B. Yeats, the poet, but that section contains fantastic information about his linkage with A.E. Russell, another great Irish poet, and all of them were members of the Theosophical Society in Dublin. And this is a separate section denoted to it. And also there's a very fascinating picture of Blavatsky, which I never come across anywhere. It looks like an Aboriginal South American Indian. I don't know who has drawn it. So he was the one who gave me all this information. And I don't know how I landed up with this gentleman in the car lift. So he said Ireland has been greatly influenced by Annie Besant. And they look forward for the success of India so that we would also eventually succeed. That is the reason I said she's been contributing. And then finally, he also told me that during her centenary, they have, I think, released a painting of Annie Besant at the Dublin airport, which I did not see. So these are all the checkered tribute that Annie Besant has been receiving after her death. And she certainly deserves much more. Now, another thing I feel a little bit anguish was when somebody came and asked me across Europe some time back, can you please check up with the BHU? I don't know if anybody is working in the BHU from this platform, anybody attending here. Has there been any doctorate or PhD done on Annie Besant? So I went searching, on the phone through contacts and so on. After 15 days of search, I found out enough has been written about Annie Besant, less of Theosophy, but more of Annie Besant's contribution to India's independence. But nobody has done research on Annie Besant separately. So this was a bit disappointing for me. And I think if any of your children are doing anthropology, you should all come and do research on this, on Annie Besant, because she'll be a great example to us. And this article, which was the main point of Jinnaraja Dasa, which struck me was, generally we say people are light bearers, right? So he talks of Annie Besant being a light bearer, and none of you will dispute that. But he says, in that article, her personality, he was doing a lot of work along with her, I guess, writing down notes for her and so on. So he says, she had this amazing ability in seeing the spark in other people. And she would see that not only she's illuminating, but the other persons with whom she tries to identify are also mini light bearers. So that's an amazing quality in her. I think two people I can remember for the BHU, when she started the Central Hindu College, we had George Arundale and a relative of his, Francisca Arundale, who came along to help her. And then another little bit of disappointment is that how history has been unfair to her in India, in the sense. Much is spoken about the Benares Hindu University with Madan Mohan Malviya and the Raja of Darbhanga, who were having contributed the land. And this is not verified fact, but I was told when Annie Besant went for a walk with the Raja of Darbhanga one evening and broached the subject of starting a university, Hindu university there, he said to her, let's take a walk across this land. And the moment we stop, the entire land will go to the university. Well, I've not seen this in any textbook, but somebody narrated this incident. Just a matter of for you to verify and check that out. So that's how the land was actually facilitated by Annie Besant for the Benares Hindu University. Of course, I think she must also be, in all fairness, be given a tribute for that contribution in having done that. And see, the one thing which is, again, I don't have much time, but then I need to get these bullet points to you through a good occasion, is Gandhi and Annie Besant. We have a Gandhian editor of a Hindi magazine called Gandhi Pravah in the Lodge. And when she came to Theosophy about 10 years back or 7 years back, she said, I came to know Theosophy through Gandhi and Annie Besant. And she thought the Theosophical Society was totally a organization which is service-oriented. So, and she was saying that Gandhians feel that Annie Besant and Gandhi never saw eye to eye. So I did a little bit of research in my own limited sense, and I found out the big picture for both of them was India's independence. Yes, no doubt about it. But what was the point of difference which I would like you to examine? I don't want to run out of time, but these 2 points I would like to say. One was that she was trying to facilitate, hobnob with the royalty, which Gandhi felt were very opulent, and she has to keep away from them. But she was using them for all the monetary channels and finances. That is one point which was disputed. Another point, she said, civil disobedience should be only to a certain extent, and it should not make people anti-government, which will be a costly thing which will happen for the next generation. So these are the two disputing points. So I don't think I have much time, but then I would like to end off with this small little talk with a fantastic quotation by the Vice Chancellor of the Exchequer. This was on her death. No woman of this generation has devoted the supreme gift of oratory and intellect to great humanitarian cause with such energy such as Annie Besant. So with this, thank you all for this opportunity. And I would like to listen to the other speakers of the day.
Thank you so much. No doubt you have done a great amount of research. It would have been great to listen to you for many more hours, but because it's a short talk, but I'm sure everybody present here has gone through your talk. We have all kind of traveled through places. We have, you took us through through places to show us how great Mrs. Besant was and how contributing her efforts were and how inspiring one female could be. And you also rightly quoted her at the end, and I'm sure you have inspired us through your research. Keep continuing, and I'm sure we would look forward to hear you more on her. Great job, sir. And coming to our next short talk, the topic is Annie Besant, an occultist. We all know occultism was a great choice of hers, and how she experienced great powers and bliss through many incidents in her life, people who would have learned about it. But I'm sure the short talk by our next speaker, Dr. Sushma Srivastava, would definitely bring us some fresh light and energy. And to talk about Dr. Sushma Srivastava, she is a life member of TS in the Indian section, and she has served in the capacity of the secretary of Anand Lodge, Allahabad for around 2 decades, more than 2 decades. And she's a manager of Anand Bal Mandir School. And so she has got this linkage to education. I'm sure she would throw on some light on education inspired by Mrs. Besant. And Dr. Sushma ji was the former UP Federation lecturer and a national lecturer too in the Indian section. She has edited one theosophic magazine called Adhyatma Jyoti, and she has been organizing study camps and workshops. I'm sure she would bring us some fresh thoughts through the topic, Annie Besant, an occultist. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonia. इंडियन सेक्शन के ऑनलाइन प्रोग्राम में सभी ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर को सादर नमस्कार। मैं प्रदीप महापात्रा सर के प्रति हार्दिक कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करती हूँ कि उन्होंने मुझे प्रस्तुति का अवसर दिया। साथ ही फिलॉसफी के अध्ययनशील समर्पित सदस्यों के प्रति आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ, जिनसे पिछले 3 वर्षों में फिलॉसफी का विशिष्ट ज्ञान प्राप्त हुआ। मेरे आज का विषय है एनी बेसेंट एंड ऑकल्टिस्ट, एनी बेसेंट एक गूढ़ ज्ञानी। इस विषय में प्रवेश करने के पूर्व कुछ तथ्यों पर विचार करना आवश्यक है, जैसे ऑकल्ट शब्द की एटिमोलॉजी क्या है, यानी उसकी उत्पत्ति क्या है, उसके कॉनोटेशंस क्या है, यानी शब्द के मूल अर्थ के अलावा उसके और क्या इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैं, इसकी डेफिनेशन क्या है, इसके सिनोनिम्स यानी उसके समानार्थी शब्द क्या हैं, और एक ऑकल्टिस्ट होने के लिए क्या क्या एलिजिबिलिटी और क्या क्या क्वालिफिकेशंस चाहिए। तो मैं बिंदुवार इस पर विचार करती हूँ। एटिमोलॉजी जो है वह शब्द की उत्पत्ति ऑकल्टस से हुई है, जो एक लैटिन का वर्ड है जिसका अर्थ है हिडन, सीक्रेट, कंसील्ड, यानी जो साधारण ज्ञान के परे हो। और ऑकल्टिज्म का मतलब है गुह्य तंत्र या गूढ़ ज्ञान, और ऑकल्टिस्ट वह है जो गूढ़ ज्ञान को रिवील करता है। अब इसके कॉनोटेशंस पे विचार करते हैं। कालांतर में जो मूल अर्थ के अलावा इसके आशय बदलते गए और इसको तंत्र विद्या, जादूगरी यानी सोर्सरी, विच क्राफ्ट तक कन्फाइन कर दिया। इस संबंध में एचपीडी कहती हैं कि ऑकल्टिज्म पेरेनियल फिलॉसफी है, यानी शाश्वत दर्शन है, और सेल्फ नॉलेज यानी आत्मविद्या है, इसके अलावा कुछ भी नहीं। इसके डेफिनेशन के संबंध में स्वयं एनी बेसेंट अपने आर्टिकल में कहती हैं, जो एचपीवी द्वारा दी गई है। आई कोट, ऑकल्टिज्म इज द स्टडी ऑफ डिवाइन माइंड इन नेचर, यानी प्रकृति में दैवी मन का अध्ययन। वह कहते हैं इससे एक्यूरेट परिभाषा ऑकल्टिज्म की कुछ नहीं होती। ऑकल्ट शब्द के समानार्थी और 2 शब्द हैं, एसोट्रिक और मिस्टिक। इनका प्रयोग इसके समानार्थी रूप में किया जाता है, क्योंकि एसोट्रिक का अर्थ भी गूढ़ ज्ञान है, रहस्यमय है और गोपनीय। और मिस्टिक का भी अर्थ है गूढ़ तत्व, दुर्बोध और रहस्यमय। इसके डिटेल में न जाकर मैं इतना ही कहूंगी कि जो एसोट्रिक नॉलेज है वो केवल इनिशिएट्स और एडेप्ट्स को दी जाती थी, और प्राचीन धर्मों में इस एसोट्रिक ग्रुप का कॉन्सेप्ट था, या एसोट्रिक ग्रुप फॉर्म होता था। मिस्टिक वो है जो सेल्फ रियलाइज्ड पर्सन है, उसके संबंध में मिस्टिक शब्द का प्रयोग होता है। अब प्रश्न उठता है कि एक ऑकल्टिस्ट होने के लिए क्या क्या एलिजिबिलिटी चाहिए, क्या क्या क्वालिफिकेशन चाहिए। इस प्रश्न का मैडम एचपीडी उत्तर देती हैं कि occultism is the great renunciation of self, that is higher self, unconditionally and absolutely in thoughts and in action. और occultist होने के लिए पहला कदम है स्वयं को जानना। ये ग्रीक फिलॉसफी में लिखा है, know thyself and thou shalt know all the mysteries of God and universe। यहाँ एचपीडी के एक कथन को उल्लेख करना फिर आवश्यक होगा कि ऑकल्टिस्ट की भी डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज होती हैं। एक ट्रू ऑकल्टिस्ट होता है, सेमी ऑकल्टिस्ट, स्यूडो या फॉस्टियन ऑकल्टिस्ट। वास्तव में ऑकल्ट के साथ अक्सर पावर और साइंस शब्द का प्रयोग होता है, जैसे ऑकल्ट पावर, ऑकल्ट साइंस। अतः जो व्यक्ति अपने ऑकल्ट पावर को संसार में अपने पर्सनल बेनिफिट के लिए मिसयूज करता है, अपने पावर को दूसरे पर इम्पोज करता है, उसका हिडन मोटिव सही नहीं है, वह स्यूडो या फॉस्टियन ऑकल्टिस्ट की श्रेणी में। सेमी ऑकल्टिस्ट वह है जिसके मोटिव में स्थायित्व नहीं रहता, बदलता रहता है। और ट्रू ऑकल्टिस्ट वह है जिसका पर्पस इस भौतिक जगत को संचालित करने वाली दैवीय नियमों को जानकर अपनी शक्ति का प्रयोग ह्यूमैनिटी के इवोल्यूशन में लगाता है। वास्तव में वही ट्रू ऑकल्टिस्ट है। अब प्रश्न उठता है, एक ऑकल्टिस्ट की नॉलेज या पावर क्या होती है? एनिबेसेंट स्वयं कहती है कि इस यूनिवर्स में दृश्य जगत एवं जीव जगत है, उसके पीछे कौन सी अदृश्य ऊर्जा या शक्ति यानी हिडन एनर्जी काम कर रही है, उसको जानने की शक्ति एक ऑकल्टिस्ट में ही होती है। वह मिनरल से लेकर ह्यूमन बीइंग तक का उदाहरण देती है। वह कहती हैं इस पृथ्वी के गर्भ में कैसे एक एटम और मॉलिक्यूल्स क्रिस्टलाइज होते हैं और ज्वेल बन जाते हैं, एक सीड से कैसे वेजिटेशन की प्रक्रिया होती है, एक सेल यानी जर्म से कैसे एनिमल की ग्रोथ होती है, और मनुष्य में चेतना कहाँ से आती है। यह सब तथ्य फिजिकल आई से देखना असंभव, लेकिन हाँ, एक साइंटिस्ट किसी भी एलिमेंट ऑब्जेक्ट के एटॉमिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन स्ट्रक्चर्स को जानता है, किंतु उसके लिए वह पहले हाइपोथेसिस बनाता है और उसको कंटिन्यूअस ऑब्जर्वेशन करता है, एनालिसिस करता है, सिंथेसिस, कंपैरिजन और एक्सपेरिमेंट के प्रोसेस से गुजरता है। किंतु एक वैज्ञानिक भी ये सब अपनी फिजिकल आई से नहीं देख सकता। इस प्रक्रिया के लिए उसे एपरेटस चाहिए, और एपरेटस से नहीं, फाइन एपरेटस, फाइन इंस्ट्रूमेंट चाहिए और एक लैब चाहिए। और फिर भी उल्लेखनीय है कि किसी भी पदार्थ का स्ट्रक्चर, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तथा ग्रोथ की प्रक्रिया बता सकता है, किंतु उसके पीछे कौन सी अदृश्य ऊर्जा शक्ति काम कर रही है और कैसे काम कर रही है, उसको बताने में वो असमर्थ है। किंतु एक ऑकल्टिस्ट अदृश्य ऊर्जा एवं शक्ति को जानने और बताने में समर्थ है, क्योंकि उसका स्वयं का शरीर ही एपरेटस है। अपने शरीर रूपी एपरेटस को प्यूरिफाई करने के लिए, उसको फाइन बनाने के लिए अपने कॉन्शियसनेस का विस्तार करना होता है उसे। इस चेतना का विस्तार तब होगा जब वो अपनी फिजिकल बॉडी के सटल वैकल को प्यूरिफाई करें। फिलोसफी में कहा गया है कि यदि हम अपने लोअर क्वाटरनरी यानी फिजिकल, इथरिक, एस्ट्रल, मेंटल बॉडी को प्यूरिफाई करते हैं थ्रू एक्शन, डिजायर एंड थॉट, तो हमारी जो अपर ट्राइड है वो प्यूरिफाई होता है। जब हमें सेल्फिशनेस का लेश मात्र भी ट्रेस न रह जाए, उसी स्थिति में हमारा हायर सेल्फ प्यूरिफाई होगा। यह भी कहा गया है कि फिजिकल बॉडी के प्यूरिफिकेशन से आत्मिक बॉडी प्यूरिफाई होती है, एस्ट्रल बॉडी के प्यूरिफिकेशन से बुद्धिक बॉडी प्यूरिफाई होती है, और लोअर मेंटल के प्यूरिफिकेशन से हायर मेंटल बॉडी प्यूरिफाई होती है। और गीता में, भगवत गीता में इसे ही मन, बुद्धि और चित्त कहा गया है। इस सटल बॉडी को मन, बुद्धि और चित्त कहा गया है। अब इस एक्सप्लेनेशन से हमें ज्ञात होता है कि ऑकल्टिस्ट को पावर प्राप्त करने के लिए हायर वर्च्यूज अपनाई हैं, और वॉइस ऑफ साइलेंस में इन 7 वर्च्यूज का उल्लेख है: दान, शील, शांति, वैराग्य, वीर, ध्यान, प्रज्ञा। और इन वर्च्यूज को अपने दैनिक जीवन का अंग बनाना। अब हम देखते हैं कि जिन तथ्यों का उल्लेख ऊपर किया है, उस संदर्भ में एनिबेसेंट एक ट्रू ऑकल्टिस्ट थी। इस संदर्भ में एक बात और महत्वपूर्ण है कि ऑकल्टिस्ट बनने के लिए हमको स्टेप बाय स्टेप उस ग्रेड तक पहुंचना होता है। लेकिन एनिबेसेंट के संदर्भ में एक ये आश्चर्यजनक तथ्य है कि उनका रूपांतरण अचानक हुआ, उनकी कॉन्शियसनेस का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन अचानक हुआ। और अब इनके ऑकल्ट पावर के संबंध में कुछ बात करती हूँ। कहते हैं कि जीवन का कोई भी क्षेत्र, चाहे वो राजनीतिक हो, सामाजिक हो, धार्मिक हो, विज्ञान का क्षेत्र हो, दर्शन, आध्यात्म, उनका कार्य क्षेत्र, उनकी लेखनी और उनकी ओरेटरी एक्सपोजिशन से अछूता नहीं रहा। उनका सारा जीवन मानवता के उत्थान के लिए समर्पित रहा। उन्होंने लगभग 40 वर्षों तक अन्य कार्यों के साथ ऑकल्टिज्म के क्षेत्र में कार्य किया। हम सब जानते हैं कि उन्होंने 300 ग्रंथ लिखे। उनकी पहली ऑकल्ट स्टडी की रिपोर्ट 1895 में लूसीफर मैगजीन में प्रकाशित हुई और इसी समय लंदन के थियोसॉफिस्ट जर्नल में प्रकाशित हुई, जिसमें उन्होंने नाइट्रोजन, ऑक्सीजन और हाइड्रोजन के एटॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर की जानकारी दी। और 1908 में C.W. लेडबिटर के साथ लिखी हुई इनकी ऑकल्ट केमिस्ट्री एक मॉन्यूमेंटल ग्रंथ है। इनके ऑकल्ट पावर से संबंधित बहुत सी किताबें हैं, लेकिन मैं एक दो की बात करूंगी। कि दूसरी है मैन, वेंस, हाउ एंड विदर। तीसरा है थॉट फॉर्म। अब ऑकल्ट केमिस्ट्री ग्रंथ के संबंध में एक मैं पढ़ रही थी तो मुझे एक जानकारी मिली कि डॉक्टर एम श्रीनिवासन जो भाभा एटॉमिक रिसर्च सेंटर के डायरेक्टर थे, वह लिखते हैं कि एनी बेसेंट की ऑकल्ट पावर के अनेक उदाहरण हैं, लेकिन वो एक उदाहरण ये है कि वो किसी एटम के डिटेल जानने के लिए, उसको ऑब्जर्व करने के लिए उस एटम के मूवमेंट को स्लो कर देती थी, और जिससे वह निष्कर्ष सही प्राप्त हो सके। वह यह भी लिखते हैं कि ऑकल्ट केमिस्ट्री प्रकाशित होने के पूर्व उन्होंने लगभग 60 एलिमेंट के केमिकल कंपाउंड्स की जानकारी दी, इसको एग्जामिन किया, और 111 माइक्रोफिजिकल एटम्स, इसको शॉर्ट में MPA कहा, की स्टडी की, जिसको साइंटिफिकली रिकॉर्ड किया गया। एक बहुत अन्य रुचिकर महत्वपूर्ण तथ्य है कि एनी बेसेंट प्योर सैंपल को प्राप्त करने के लिए वाटर फेरी, एयर फेरी, अर्थ गार्डियन यानी नेचर स्पिरिट का हेल्प लेती थी, जिससे वह प्योर सैंपल प्राप्त हो और उनके अध्ययन का निष्कर्ष सही। अब हम बात करते हैं एनी बेसेंट के थॉट पुस्तक के संबंध में। सभी थियोसॉफिस्ट इस विषय के को जानते हैं कि उन्होंने इस पुस्तक के को साइंटिफिकली प्रेजेंट करने के लिए थॉट फॉर्म्स के डायग्राम, सिंबल और चार्ट बनाया, जो केवल उन अतीन्द्रिय दृष्टि से ही देखा जाता था। उनकी वो क्लेयरवॉयंट थी, उनके पास क्लेयरवॉयंट पावर थी, और इसके माध्यम से उन्होंने निर्णय लिया। उन्होंने ये बताया कि शरीर के जो 7 कोष होते हैं, सॉलिड, लिक्विड, गैस, ईथर 1, ईथर 2, सब एटॉमिक और एटॉमिक, वो उसके विभिन्न शरीर के कोषों में जो सब प्लेन्स होते हैं, उसमें ये एलिमेंट्स होते हैं। उन्होंने एक बात और महत्वपूर्ण बताई जो उस समय जानकारी नहीं थी, कि फिजिकल प्लेन के 3 डायमेंशन होते हैं, एस्ट्रल प्लेन के 4 डायमेंशन होते हैं, और मेंटल प्लेन 5 डायमेंशनल आदि आदि। और उन्होंने जिन रंगों और जिनके फॉर्म को एनी बेसेंट ने अपनी ऑकल्ट पावर से बताया, उसको वेरीफाई किया 20वीं शताब्दी में केरलियन फोटोग्राफी में। और फिर इसमें इस फोटोग्राफी के माध्यम से देखा जाता सकता था कि उसके एप्लीकेशन जो हायर लाइट फ्रीक्वेंसी से उस रंगों को देख सकते थे। अब एक और महत्वपूर्ण बात जो हम सब लोग जानते हैं, लेकिन उनके ऑकल्ट पावर के संबंध में उल्लेख करना आवश्यक है, कि एनी बेसेंट एंड C.W. लेडबिटर ने जब जय कृष्ण मूर्ति को उनकी 12 वर्ष की अवस्था में देखा, तो उन्होंने इसके ब्रिलियंट ऑरा को देखा और ये प्रेडिक्ट किया कि ये वर्ल्ड टीचर हुई। ये सामान्य बात नहीं। एक अन्य पुस्तक है मैन, वेंस, हाउ एंड विदर में जो विवरण मिलता है, उससे ज्ञात होता है कि एनी बेसेंट को प्रीवियस ग्लोब में और रिमोट पार्ट में जाकर वहाँ की हायरार्की और इनहेरिटेंस और उस फिजिकल फीचर की जानकारी वो ले लेती है। और हालांकि संबंध में विवाद है, लेकिन कहा जाता है कि उनको अणिमा की सिद्धि प्राप्त हुई। वो अपना छोटा रूप, सूक्ष्म रूप धारण कर लेती। और ये जो मैन, वेंस, हाउ एंड विदर की जो पुस्तक है, उसके कंटेंट इस बात के उदाहरण है। और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है कि जिनराज दास जी ने जब HPB नहीं रही तो उनको एक पत्र प्राप्त किया, और उसमें उन्होंने एनी बेसेंट का लिखा था कि द वन एंड द ओनली वन। ऐसी पायस सोल की स्मृति को नमन। इसके संदर्भ में 2-3 और उदाहरण है कि महात्मा केएच ने एपी सेनेट को एक पत्र लिखा, क्रोनोलॉजिकल लेटर नंबर 33, और उसमें उन्होंने ये बताया कि एनी बेसेंट जो है वो फ्यूचर मैसेंजर होंगी। और उन्होंने ये भी लिखा कि ये कोई ऑकल्ट पावर है, वो किसी ग्रंथ को पढ़ के नहीं आ सकती। यदि ऐसा होता तो उस पर न जाने आज कितनी पुस्तकें लिखी जाती, और इस ऑकल्ट पावर से वो उसका यूज कर सकते थे और उससे लाभान्वित हो सकते। और मैं एक बात और कह के अपनी बात कहना चाहूंगी कि मैंने शुरू में कहा था कि जो ऑकल्टिस्ट है वो नेचर के लॉज जानने के लिए प्रयत्न करता है, और जो एक मिस्टिक होता है वो ईश्वर से मिलने के लिए, एक होता है टू सीक गॉड और एक होता है कि मिस्टिक सीक्स गॉड में मिल जाने के लिए होता है। तो लेकिन अंत में इस बात से अपनी बात समाप्त करना चाहूंगी कि एक परफेक्टेड ऑकल्टिस्ट जो है फाइनली जो है वो इंक्लूड्स द मिस्टिक, एंड परफेक्ट मिस्टिक फाइनली इंक्लूड्स द ऑकल्टिस्ट। तो मैडम एचपीवी ने जो बात कही थी वो एनी बेसेंट पे बिल्कुल सार्थक और सही उतरती है कि वो एक मिस्टिक भी थी और ऑकल्टिस्ट भी थी। उन्होंने संसार को बहुत कुछ दिया। और इनके संबंध में श्री जनराज दास कहते थे कि जब वो कोई रिसर्च करती थी तो CW लेगबिटर और HP एनी बेसेंट दोनों उसको जो है वो टैली करते थे। और श्री जनराज दास जी कहते हैं कि उनको यह अवसर प्राप्त था कि उसको वो लिखते थे, रिकॉर्ड करते थे, और बाद में उन्होंने इसको एडिट भी किया। ऐसी पायस उनको आज उनकी 175th एनिवर्सरी पर शत शत नमन। धन्यवाद।
हेलो, या सुषमा जी,
जी
धन्यवाद, थैंक यू। आपने काफी अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया, हमेशा की तरह आप हिंदी में बोलती हैं और अच्छा बोलती हैं, और आपने जो ऑकल्टिज्म के एग्जाम्पल्स दिए और एनी बेसेंट की लाइफ के बारे में हमें अवगत कराया। धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। एंड आप कंटिन्यू करिए, इस तरह से रिसर्च करते रहिए, हमें शेयर करते रहिए, हमें आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखने के लिए मिलता है। जितना हम एनी बेसेंट से सीखते हैं आपसे भी सीखते हैं, क्योंकि आप उम्दा बोलती हैं, अच्छे अच्छे रिसर्च करके लाती हैं। थैंक यू सो सो मच। Abhi, we will go to our next speaker, the last talk, which is about the topic Annie Besant, a social reformer. And our speaker is Sister Sri Priya Raghavan. And let me tell about Sister Sri Priya. She has been a long-term member of TS. Everybody knows her. Everybody who has gone to Adair, who has attended conferences, programs. So Sri Priya ji is visible everywhere. So she is the treasurer of Madras Theosophical Federation since November 2013. And she has organized a lot of conferences and programs. She has spoken in many forums, and she's a versatile speaker. She's great in collecting things and presenting. And she's going to talk about Annie Besant, a social reformer. Over to you, sister.
Thank you, Suvalina. Good evening. Namaste. Greetings to one and all as we are gathered here to commemorate the 176th birth anniversary of Dr. Annie Besant. She strode the world like a colossus. Her persona is simply out of the world. You know, so much is known about Annie Besant to the world today. And the more I dwell upon Dr. Besant, the more I feel that is so awesome, so grand. I consider it a privilege to be asked to share a few thoughts on her on this day, and I'm very thankful to Brother Pradeep Matraji for this invitation. How do you remember Annie Besant? Remembering a great daughter of India who, in her own words, tried to follow truth. In her autobiography written in 1893, she said, when she became a theosophist, An imperious necessity forces me to speak the truth. As I see it, that one loyalty to truth I must keep stainless. Whatever friendships fail me or human ties be broken. And I ask no other epitaph on my tomb, but she tried to follow truth. Annie Besant was born a century before India got her independence. On the occasion of the 75th anniversary of India's independence, the government of India celebrated her as one of the warriors who fought for India's freedom. She had been acclaimed as an educationist, activist, theosophist, and writer. Annie Besant established the Home Rule movement, which played a crucial role in India's freedom struggle. She was all this and much more. The Mahatmas who were involved with the founding of the Theosophical Society, in a letter in July 1883, letter number 81, speak about the psychic condition of India. The letter says, I should say that to the psychic sight, India seems covered with a stifling gray fog, a moral meteor, the odic emanation from a vicious social state. Here and there twinkles a point of light, which marks a nature still somewhat spiritual, a person who aspires and struggles after the higher knowledge. If the beacon of Aryan occultism shall ever be kindled again, these scattered sparks must be combined to make it a flame. And this is a task of TS. This is the pleasant part of its work in which we would so gladly assist, were we not impeded and thrown back by the chelas themselves. What was the spiritual, moral condition of India? She was considered as the cradle of civilization, mother of spirituality from time immemorial, a great nation that lay groveling under a foreign heel. There was air of decadence all around. Masses were illiterate. Educated Indians were shamefaced. They were foreigners in their own land. The colonial rule was eating into the vitals of nation, and every cherished feeling and sentiment were trampled upon. Materialism was rampant. The Mahatma letters, the psychic state of India was described as covered with fog. The Mahatmas who inspired the founding of the Theosophical Society were deeply concerned with the regeneration of India. A call was made to the Theosophists to work for the moral and spiritual upliftment of the nation. None answered this call with a greater dedication and ability than Annie Besant. Why did Annie Besant answer? Because she was utterly selfless. On 16 November 1893, at Tuticorin, Annie Besant set foot on her motherland. This is a very, very proud moment etched in the sands of time. Tuticorin is far south, and 1893 is a very, very special year. That was the year when Swami Vivekananda went to Parliament of Religions at Chicago, and Dr. Annie Besant came to Madras. She deeply bowed and kissed the soil in reverential namaskara. The sacramental union makes moving reading. She was then 47 years old. Prior to that, in England, her life had witnessed a series of stormy transformations. Her extraordinary energy, talents, a rare combination of energy, strength, a bold warrior fighting against injustice, gentle, loving, and a veritable mother to all. She was a far-sighted visionary and courageous. She was not new to social reforms. She was already a champion of the oppressed, a social reformer, champion of freedom of thought. She was an orator par excellence, a true reformer who had done yeoman service for the people of Ireland and England. She was an earnest student who passed out with honors in her intermediate examination. She applied to pursue her bachelor's in science with the intention of pursuing medicine thereafter. But what met her? There was antipathy from examiners. They would not pass her for a self-proclaimed atheism. But Annie Besant was not the one to be cowed down. Instead, she found that she had in her an innate quality to teach. She brought out small booklets in various aspects of science, like sound, light, etc., which could be guidebooks for 10th grade matriculation students. Many of you would be aware that in 1888, she supported the cause of girls who were working in match factory in Ireland. Girls were underpaid, suffered from phosphorus poisoning in their jaws. The journal Link published the facts, stirred up public opinion, appealed to members of parliament. She worked hard till the whole problem was brought before the public. The match girls got justice. The Matchmakers Union was established, of which Dr. Besant was the secretary of for some time. She was also the member of the London School Board. Now, from Christianity to atheism to free thinking, finally she found truth when she met H.P. Blavatsky in 1885. A chance encounter with the secret doctrine of HPB swept Annie Besant to the shores of ageless wisdom from which she never had to look back. Annie Besant wrote her autobiography in 1893. She just wanted to tell the world and the people who suffered a great deal like her that all was not lost. So the story, the saga of a soul that went alone into the darkness and on the other side found light, that struggled through the storm and on the other side found peace. She wrote the autobiography so that it would bring some ray of light and peace into the darkness and storms of other lives. When Madam HPB, who was the outer head of the esoteric section, passed away in 1891, the chief link between the hierarchy of adepts and the inner body of TS after her passing away was Annie Besant. She was given this position by HPB, acting on her master's order. When Madam HPB passed to higher planes, Annie Besant wrote this tribute. The work to which she gave her life is now ours to carry on. The forces behind it are not weakened because H.P. Blavatsky has departed. It is the work of the brotherhood, not of any one individual. And while the brotherhood lives and works, neither doubt nor despair can touch their disciples. We have but to do our duty. Success, as the world counts it, is a thing of no account. This is what Annie Besant is writing in 1891. With the passing of HPB, the teaching and administration of the inner body passed into the hands of Annie Besant, and this continued until the death of Colonel Olcott. Colonel Olcott, the president founder, had the right to nominate his successor, and as he lay on his deathbed, the two adepts who had founded the TS appeared to him physically and advised him to nominate Annie Besant as the next president. The description of what took place on that sacred occasion and the joyful, wholehearted acceptance of the master's suggestion by the colonel he set out in a circular which he sent to every lodge in the world. So, when Dr. Annie Besant became the president of the Theosophical Society, everywhere and on all occasions, she affirmed publicly her knowledge of the brotherhood. She did not hesitate to invoke their blessings on every gathering of members. Therefore, from 1893 onwards, the life that unfolded was very different. We are not watching the development of a personal life, but the process of working out of our plan, the carrying out of the behest of a will of which she was the consecrated agent. Behind all that she planned and she did was the august figure of her master who stood behind her and guided her work in the outer world. Every person who came to see her was one sent to her by the master to be helped. However late the hour, no visitor was ever refused admission. There was an extraordinary atmosphere around her. How did people perceive her? Men and women felt a sacrificial quality about all that she did and said, as if they were living in the presence of someone who lived and moved in a different plane, different consciousness. She worked like the great force of nature, unhasting, perfectly, whether writing a letter, delivering a speech, everything was done with meticulous care and perfection. There was one person by the name of Mr. Sanjeeva Rao, who was a very close confidant of Dr. Annie Besant. Recently, a book has come called Letters of Wisdom, where a compilation of his letters speaking about Annie Besant, Krishnamurti, founding of Rajghat School, has come. Now, in this book, there is a very nice anecdote or an incident. Mr. Sanjeeva Rao is a trusted person of Dr. Annie Besant. They both are traveling in a train coming from Bombay to Madras. In the course of the day, which begins for her at 5 a.m., she got up, prepared coffee for both of us, and began her work. 2 fat volumes, each of nearly 800 pages, had to be reviewed, written by John Morley on Gladstone. Mrs. Besant knew Gladstone and had engaged in a controversy with the famous Prime Minister, who was a theologian as well as a politician. She was a young rebel in the ranks of free thought. What did Annie Besant do? She finished reading Gladstone's biography, wrote 5 leading articles on his important work for New India, wrote 16 letters, and at night read half a dozen books of fiction. Mr. Sanjeeva Rao says, I watched with dismay my own inability even to read one book in the moving train. Annie Besant notes this and smiles and tells him, you can't possibly do what I am doing. I am trained to do this. I have trained myself to years of work. Don't try to do what I am doing. Don't eat as little as I do. You go to sleep when you are tired. The letters that she wrote are written with her own hand. She entrusts the responsibility of posting only to responsible people. They are brief and to the point, but with each letter goes the benediction of a senior disciple of her master. So this was Annie Besant almost 100 years ago. Now, Annie Besant speaks about who is a free individual. She feels only a free individual can rule. Why? A man who rules himself is self-controlled, the pure, the wise, they alone are free. Out of such men who are free, women who are strong, righteous, ruling their own nature, training it for noblest ends, you have political freedom. On the need for self-control, she said, self-control is a foundation for true freedom. Without self-control, there is anarchy and not freedom. For every increase of anarchy, we pay happiness in exchange. So Annie Besant met distrust with trust, cold suspicion with warm, generous love. She studied the philosophy and the wisdom of people with reverence. And she had infinite faith in India's future. She revived the memories of a glorious past of which we were ignorant. She wrote the Bhagavad Gita and called it the Lord's Song. Okay? And this is a scripture of yoga. And yoga is literally union. And to Annie Besant, it meant unity of life and harmony with the divine law. The becoming of one with the divine life, the subdual of all outward going energies. So these things were held in trust by her. She had an extraordinary combination of her bhakti and karma yoga. an orator par excellence with a wonderful capacity for organizing men and things. Failure and success had no meaning for her. The one thing she could not bear to hear was starvation or hunger. She could never hear without shedding bitter tears that a person was hungry and did not have the means to find his meal. She helped several people who underwent trials and tribulations. In brief, she was a yogi who knew no fear. She was always in a state of equilibrium and never allowed any vengeful words to escape her. She was manasa, vacha, karmana, the same, integrity in action. What was her mighty tapasya? In 1891, she pledged, I vowed myself to life's renunciation until final peace is entered by all that lives. In 1932, a year before she passed on, in a New Year's resolution, she writes, I will try each day and all day long to tune my nature into fuller harmony with that of the Divine Master who dwells in my heart. This speaks of the heights to which Dr. Besant had risen and her state of consciousness. Thank you. This was my tribute to the Diamond Soul.
Thank you so much, Priyaji. You just reminded all of us when Dr. Sushma Srivastava was saying, a true occultist is someone who knows herself. And in your short talk, you actually touched upon those points which reminded all of us that for being or for becoming a social reformer, knowing our own strength, having that conviction and that integrity, that unifying manasha vacha karmani, what you say, like what I think, what I do, and what I say, the unification, the true unification can happen only when we are strongly built and we represent that characteristics of a true social reformer, a true occultist. Thank you so much. It was wonderful listening to you. I wish you couldn't stop. We would listen to you more and more. Thank you so much. We had wonderful 3 short talks. And on this occasion, when we have gathered here to remember a great soul, I think we should stop here talking, take a pause, be in silence, absorb what we learned, what we are taking away from the session, before I end with the closing prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Thank you all for joining us.